What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV, coming to you live with your Packers Daily Chat, wherever you are on the internet, hopefully. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We try to be wherever you are. We're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. How are you? What's up, Packers fans? Good to see everybody in the chat. Lots of people already lined up. Lots of people already hitting the like and the dislike button. And I love you all equally because you know what? I welcome your engagement, especially on a day when we're talking about Mike McCarthy, obviously having his first sit-down interview after his firing. I wasn't surprised by a whole lot, to be honest with you. I thought, as usual, Mike took the high road, especially when it came to Aaron Rodgers. No point, I think, in his mind of trying to poke that bear, especially when he seems to want to get back into coaching next year. The title of the video, McCarthy deserved better. I think the one kind of pushback he did have in his talk with Rob was how the firing was handled. And look, I could say a lot. I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions about it. I'll just say this, after the guy did what he did for the franchise, won as many games as he did, was basically the figurehead and or public face of the franchise for over a decade, firing him the way they did, unceremoniously after the loss to the Cardinals. Yes, was it a pathetic game? Absolutely. But in light of everything else he had done for the organization, firing him with 4 games remaining in a lost season just felt like weak sauce to me. Felt emotional and not very well thought out. And I've had a bunch of people online today going back and looking at my old tweets and talking about, well, Aaron, you wanted him fired too. Or even a month ago you said, he should have been fired after that Seattle game after he didn't go for it on 4th and 2. And if we're holding the Green Bay Packers, a multi-million-dollar company, to the same standards as an emotional fan blogger during a game, then we got bigger issues than, how Mike McCarthy was fired. Yes, have I been emotional at times and said, oh, you know what, he deserves to be fired? Yeah, of course. But I'm not making the decision to terminate a guy's contract who has given everything to the franchise for 13 plus years. And this idea that whatever you tweet at 10:32 p.m. on Tuesday is going to be locked in as your opinion on the matter for the rest of eternity is about the shallowest thing I've ever heard. If you're not capable of recognizing that, yes, you can contain multiple thoughts, ideas, and angles on a subject past just one tweet, well, if you can't do that, I don't know why you're here watching this or even engaging with me in any way, shape, or form, because it's clear that you don't have the mental capacity to do so, and I invite you to leave. The rest of you, welcome. Let's chat, shall we? I agree 100% with what McCarthy's wife said to him after being fired. I thought that was an interesting quote that Mike brought up, saying that she was relieved for him. And I think everyone kind of felt that, right? I mean, everybody who knew it was time, it was clear the time had come. Again, I didn't like the timing, but it was clear at the end of that year, it was time for him to go. But I think everybody around the organization kind of felt it. And I think everybody needed that exhale of Mike being basically told that his time was up. Again, I don't agree with the timing of it, but I do agree with that sentiment. I thought all tweets were truths carved into stone for all eternity. Now I feel cheated. There you go. I believe Bach. Maxwell, that was something that did jump out to me. McCarthy pushing back on the... Now, to him, it was what he was referencing were Mark Murphy's comments at the introductory or the press conference after they had announced LaFleur's hiring about the lack of accountability. And McCarthy pushed back on that pretty sternly in his talk with Rob. The first thing I thought was Bakhtiari talking about people being late for the plane and having no repercussions and a lack of accountability in the locker room and throughout the organization, et cetera. So I understand that, I understand McCarthy maybe bristling at that, but I don't think you'd find anybody around the team for the last year or two to say that that wasn't a fair characterization. And I get why Mike has to put that out there, especially if he's looking to get a job again in 2020. But the Bakhtiari quote was something I thought of as well. Sack predictions for both Smiths. Whew. I'll go 5 and 6, and you can figure out which is which. Was the silver lining being that Mike McCarthy would have been a dead man walking for the remaining of the season? Yeah, but he was pretty much a dead man walking all year. I mean, as soon as they went on that stretch of losing in LA, and then losing in New England, losing in Minneapolis, it was over. You know, they had a miracle shot at getting to the playoffs at that point, but I mean, everybody knew the score. I just don't understand what firing him with 4 games on the schedule what did that gain them? You know, they would have hired LaFleur, they would have landed where they would have ended up where they got to regardless. So I just don't get it. Other than Mark Murphy and maybe Ed Policy and people who live in the area and are associated with the Packers not wanting to deal with it for a month. I mean, I guess if that's it, then okay, say that. Mike McCarthy for general manager if Gutekunst doesn't get it done. I don't think anybody wants that, including Mike McCarthy. He has talked many times about being a coach, and he's not too interested in being a personnel guy. Noah Fant or Hawkinson? I say Fant. Soda? I say Hawkinson. But that's why it's great that we live in this free democracy called the United States of America. We're all allowed to have our opinions and voice them respectfully. Should J. Roan Elliott come back after leading the AAF in sacks? Chris, I wouldn't totally close the door. I tend to doubt it, but you never know. I do think he should be on an NFL roster this fall, and I think there's a good chance he gets a call from somebody. And and look, it's not just the way he could help a team on defense. I think he's an excellent special teams player. I just can't imagine there are 32 teams that couldn't use a guy like that. Thoughts on the Joker trailer? I flipping loved it. And I got to admit, when I read about it a couple years ago when it first got greenlit, I was very skeptical. I've been kind of very, very, reticent to embrace the idea, but whoa, daddy, that trailer looks awesome. I'm all in. Ed Oliver, that is all. Jonathan, I like the way you think, buddy. I hope Boyle is. Just is, Bunny? I hope Boyle is too. I believe you're probably saying you hope Boyle is the backup. I'm with my buddy Pete Doherty, who wrote for the paper, was yesterday or 2 days ago, that he would expect Boyle to beat out DeShone Kizer. And, I mean, after watching Kizer last year, it's hard to see how that's not a possibility. Oh, woo, baby. Thoughts that Matt and Rodgers haven't met yet? Who cares? Who cares? Why would they? The rules say they can't. Rodgers lives in California. LaFleur is in Green Bay. I just, I don't understand that whole thing. Chad Sanders, you never got the T-shirt? Oh, buddy, I'm so sorry. I will go and look at. We have a FedEx log for every T-shirt we've sent out. And I'll make sure it went to the right address, buddy. I'm sorry. I'll get with you after this. I'll send you an email. Let's see. Hilary, a poor man's Oliver. Ooh, Patrick. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think he is quite the talent that Oliver is, but I do think Hilary has an incredible upside. He's got all the physical tools to be a real legit difference maker up front for some team. I think he's a bit more raw than Oliver is, but I tell you what, the upside is there, certainly, to be a really disruptive force. And I tell you what, if the Packers ended up with him after the draft, I wouldn't be upset. So Rodney Gunter, yes, Rodney Gunter, formerly of the Arizona Cardinals, visiting the Green Bay Packers today. He would absolutely fit with the kind of type of free agents that they've brought in and signed this offseason, as far as guy looking for his second contract, young, ascending player, was a bit productive there along the defensive line for Arizona last year, including in the game in Green Bay. I don't think it'd have to work at their price. I don't think they're going to break the bank kind of the way they did for these other guys, some of these other guys. But I would definitely like that signing. And it would probably close the door on Muhammad Wilkerson if they were to sign Gunter. When will we know what the new offense looks like? in actuality, probably not till week 1. And even then, I think it'll be an evolution throughout the season. Nico Siragusa, a chance to start at guard? Jonathan, I would say absolutely. I mean, that's just from looking at his college tape and talking to people both in Green Bay and around the league. He certainly looks like the type of guy who could step in and compete to be a starter. Have to see him on the field, have to see him in this offense, but the upside is there. I know he's dealt with a bunch of injuries since entering the league, but yeah, I think he's definitely promising, and I think he'll be in the mix to compete for the starting job at right guard. As long as they pick up one of the Devins in the draft. Devin, you just want another Devin, I understand. Metcalf, overrated, exclamation point. Would much rather have that slot guy from Ole Miss instead. Well, I talked about Metcalf yesterday. I think, it's funny because I don't think you can say he's overrated. I mean, yes, he's getting a lot of press. Media definitely latched onto him after the combine. But look, he's an impressive prospect. You can't look at both his production, his tape, and his the way he kind of blew everybody away at the combine and say that he's overrated. I think he's a promising prospect. But yeah, has he gotten probably a disproportionate amount of attention in the lead up to the draft? Yeah, maybe. But all players have value, and he certainly does. But I do think his game is a bit stiff, and I do wonder about his adjustment to the pro game. But those are things that the NFL teams spend gobs of money and time on to make the determination of where to select him. Your favorite offensive tackle prospect in this draft? Can I cheat and say Risner from Kansas State? I know most people probably could play him at guard, but I just like his attitude. How do you feel about what Jordy said if Rodgers asked him to come back? Okay, now here's the distinction there. For those of you who don't know, today Jordy Nelson was on with Dan Patrick talking about his retirement and saying that the real news there was that he had talked to Mark Murphy about coming back to Green Bay to sign a one-day contract to retire as a Packer. Now, Dan Patrick, of course, because that's his job, asked, well, say it's July and Aaron Rodgers calls and asks you to come back to Green Bay. Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be the one making that call. It would be Brian Gutekunst. But if Gutekunst decides, okay, yes, I think we should bring back Jordy Nelson, he says, Aaron, call your buddy. Let's say all that happens. Jordy said it would be very hard to say no. And of course, the internet sees that headline and all hell breaks loose. And I jokingly, again with Twitter, said, here we go, here comes another round of Jordy Nelson, another news cycle of Jordy Nelson, because, he's going to say this on the radio, it's going to get put online, and everyone's going to talk about it for a day. And within a couple minutes, Aaron Rodgers himself liked that tweet, which I found interesting. And I could interpret it as one of two things. Either here's Aaron Nagler back on his bullshit, or Aaron Rodgers agrees. Here comes a whole bunch of noise about Jordy Nelson. So we'll see. Who will be the starting receivers? Well, right now I would put my money on, obviously, Devontae Adams. And then opposite him on the perimeter would probably be Geronimo Allison. I think the other guys will have tons of opportunities to compete. But if I had to guess who wins that number 2 spot, so to speak, give me Allison right now. Let's head over to Twitter. I've been neglectful of the old tweet machine, as I've decried it early on in this chat. Starts with, asked this of Mr. Demoski after reading his McCarthy article. While I was reading it, the depth of reading about Mike McCarthy as a person/coach was refreshing and insightful. Did what he say strike you in that way as well? Did anything surprise you? I wouldn't say anything really surprised me. I thought he was very diplomatic at times. I thought he was, took the high road, as I pretty much expected him to do. I tell you what, the one overriding feeling I had reading it, and I thought Rob did a great job. Rob asked the right questions, the questions that everybody probably wanted asked. What I really wanted, though, coming away from that interview was, now I want the Mike sitting around a bar with his buddies version of that interview. I'd pay real currency to see that. Why the big deal about LaFleur not having a face-to-face with Aaron Rodgers yet? They'll talk plenty when everything starts. It's the off season. What am I missing? In other news, when will Jennings, shut up. Oh, wow, Corey. Going all in there. I'm with you. I think it's a total non-story that they haven't met face-to-face or whatever. Who cares? It is the offseason. It means absolutely nothing. And like I said, even if Rodgers was in the building, they're not allowed to talk football. So it's ridiculous. But it's the offseason. It's the silly season. We need stuff to tweet about. And when will Greg Jennings shut up? Never. Never. It's what keeps him employed. Please. Two-part, non-McCarthy question. Whew. Will Corey Banke, quote, go Nagler on Packerman if Green Bay takes a kicker in the upcoming draft? Probably. And what are your thoughts on, I'll just say the Wisconsin kicker, because I can never pronounce his name right, as a potential UFA if they decide to go that way? It's a possibility. I wouldn't totally kick the idea to the curb. I think it's an absolute possibility that they at least bring in some competition for Mason Crosby. I'd be surprised if they drafted one, but never say never. And yeah, I think that is the kind of way they would go. Although, historically, they have kind of shied away from Wisconsin products. So who knows? Do you think the Packers will have a PR mess on their hands as a result of what has been read on the Mike McCarthy interview? In your opinion, would they take an approach that if they ignore it, it will die down? Well, when you say die down, I think there would have to be something percolating first or something fired. It's like, I think, like I said, I don't think there was any real red meat there. I understand he's sensitive about the way he was dismissed, but I think that's understandable. And I don't think the Packers would view it as, oh, we've got to get ahead of this or we have to respond to this. Mike's allowed to say whatever the hell it is he felt. He's not a Packers employee anymore, especially, so, he can talk his game, whatever. But I think the Packers, and I haven't seen any rumblings from anybody with the team taking exception to anything he said. It was a tough situation. Mark Murphy made his call. I may not agree with it, but that's Murphy's job, and he made the call. So I think the Packers, rightfully so, will just kind of let it go. Not much else to really talk about. Has anyone realized the draft is the same night as the Endgame premiere? Zach, I think a lot of people have realized that because I've gotten a ton of tweets about it. Yeah, I'll be here watching the draft. You guys have fun watching the Avengers. I tell you what, if it was a Star Wars premiere, then we'd have a problem. But Avengers, whatever. Let's head back over to the live chat. Complimentary words for the Wisconsin kicker as I turn my chair back. Don't watch Fox, people. It's a solution. Nagler, who is the most talented player do you think the Packers misused? Ooh. Man. That's a toss-up, probably between Casey Hayward and Demarius Randall, but I'll probably go with Demarius Randall. Any players you're expecting to make a big jump this coming season? Timmy, give me Tony Brown, the undrafted corner last year out of Alabama. I think he's got all the tools to really surprise people. Now, a lot's up to him. I've said this repeatedly on this chat. I'll probably say it all summer long. It's up to him to put the work in and to make that jump happen. But he 100%, I think, can be a starter in this league. That's just my opinion. Who is in charge of game day music at Lambeau? Can we please retire Jock Jams Volume 1? Allison, good luck with that. I actually know a couple of the guys who work the Lambeau stuff and the guy who actually does play the music, and I will pass your message along. Andy, Isabella solves two problems with the one pick, slot and return man. I really like that idea. I wonder about, where the Packers will value him in the sense that, they've always kind of, since Ron Wolf came on board, they've always favored bigger guys at the receiver position. Randall Cobb was obviously a bit of an outlier there, but I don't know. I mean, I love the idea, but we'll see if they go that way. Josh Jackson definitely will bounce back. I mean, to me, was he beat sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. Did he you show promise in areas? Absolutely. To me, the one thing, and I say this all the time, the one thing he's got to stop is grabbing guys downfield. It's just a drive killer. Those penalties absolutely destroy your game. And you can't put a guy out on the field repeatedly if he's going to do that. So more than anything else, if he can just stop doing that, I think that will go a long way in helping his stock. Do you miss doing the press box post-game questionnaires? Oh, you mean the Facebook Lives I used to do for PackersNews.com? Not really. I like doing the watch parties. I may do a kind of a combination this year because I do think it's better to have kind of an engaging conversation after the game. We may not even do watch parties this year, to be honest with you, but we'll see. But I'll definitely have game day video, and it'll be post-game. I don't think it'll be quite that setup, but, you know. Do I definitely take Oliver at 12 if he's there? Yes. Let's see. When does the first offseason stuff, being since we got a new coach, some other teams already started? Oh, Brian, yes. This past Monday, a couple days ago, was the first day teams with new coaches, new head coaches, could report. The Packers elected not to, and this was Matt LaFleur's decision. They're reporting next Monday because NFL rules, being as they are, there's always some Byzantine rule book you got to make your way through to understand the fact that if you did start on the 8th, which was Monday, or if you did start on Monday, which wasn't the 8th is next Monday, you have to take a week break before the end of the offseason program. Now, because you have to take a week off. It's mandated due to the collective bargaining agreement. Now, if you use this first week as your week off, then you can work uninterrupted through the offseason. So that's what LaFleur decided to do. It's a little silly, but then again, so is the NFL. All I want from Kevin King, give me 14 games. I love that you're aiming high. I love it wasn't, like I started looking at that question, I was like, all I want from Kevin King, oh, he's going to say 16 games, 14 games. All right, Jimmy, I like it, buddy. You're being realistic, not going too crazy. You know, the NFL's a violent game. This guy can't stay on the field. Let's just get 14 games out of him. I like it. Any chance we get another backup quarterback in free agency? Brandon, at this point, I doubt it. I think if that move was gonna get made, that would have happened at the first part of free agency. I doubt it happens now. Someone had Isabel at 30. That's too early, in my opinion. Deborah, I tend to agree, but again, that's why I said I think it really depends on where the Packers value him and what's going on with the rest of the draft. Where are they? What's their board look like? I mean, I would love him on the team, but I do wonder where they would slot him. And I agree with you. I think 30 is probably, for me, a bit early, but you never know. Maybe they think he's a, top 15 player. We don't know. I doubt it, but you never know. King will hit 8 games max. Come on, Danny. It's April, man. Let's be positive. We can all get upset and tear apart Packer Man when the season gets here. Let's stew in some good feelings for a little bit before it all goes to hell. Nags, do you think King can be their number one corner? Julian, yeah, I do. I think he's got the talent to be. I think you saw last year, and I don't think there's any doubt, they are a much better defense when he is on the field. The question is, when's he on the field, number one, can he be, like, between him and Jair, I don't think it's great if you can put 2 guys out there, set it and forget it, those perimeter guys, and then, just not worry about traveling with the number 1 wide receiver. Pettin's talked about this a lot, the idea of traveling with a guy, but then maybe not having your best corner on their number 2 guy soloed up, and then putting your number 2 corner in a safety over the number 1, what have you. And that differs from week to week under Pettin. And I think, those guys, I think they're pretty interchangeable. I think they're both really talented, and they can both line up against anybody in the league. Key, as always, is King just staying on the field. Duke Johnson, Zachary, yeah, I had a question earlier in the chat that I missed before we went live, asking about reports that the Packers might be interested in trading for him. I'd be really surprised if the Packers used even a 4th-round pick. Now, maybe a late pick, like 5th, 6th round, 7th round. But yeah, I'd be surprised if they gave up a 4th for a running back. Now, I think he's talented, and I do think he could help, but just organizationally, historically, this group, this personnel pipeline has not viewed running back as something that they're going to give up capital for. I think they would much prefer to go get their own people, bring them up through their program. But, maybe they break precedents. Who knows? Any sleepers for you in the draft that Green Bay should draft? Terence, I mentioned him a couple weeks ago, but I like Max Crosby, Western Michigan kid. He's still a little raw, but I think he definitely could develop a la one Kyler Fackrell. And he probably doesn't have the athletic makeup that Fackrell had coming out, but he's somebody I think that could help them long term. Where do you think the Packers defense will rank next season? Ooh, don't it? That's a big question. Ask me again after the draft, because right now we've got an incomplete picture. But the potential is there for it to be pretty darn good. Now, of course, a lot of that depends on health. We saw even last year towards the end, things fall apart when that injury bug starts hitting. You're throwing out tons of guys that haven't been together all year and have no idea what the defense is that they're running. But I think they've got a good shot to be pretty good. Does Banky have a booze bottle in his desk? He's got a bar in his office. Please. That's how we roll. When interviews such as the McCarthy and Demoski thing happen, does McCarthy get a heads up on which questions will be asked so he can prepare? Probably not so much in regards to I'm going to ask X, Y, Z. I have little doubt now, and I can't speak for Rob, obviously, but traditionally most guys will say, well, I'll want to cover this, that, and the other thing, but they won't give specific questions because they want the nature of the answers to be in the moment. But I have little doubt, and a lot of it depends on the relationship between the interviewer and the coach and or player. Rob has been in Green Bay forever now. He's a bit of an institution, and I know he and Mike have a really good relationship, so I'm not surprised that Rob got the interview. But I would be absolutely shocked if Demoski laid out what questions he was going to ask. How much money is Fackrell worth if he has a double-digit sack season in 19? That's a really good question, Timmy. I do think if he puts together another productive year, it's a good chance he's going to price himself out of Green Bay because they just paid 2 edge guys. We'll see. I mean, it depends on what kind of season he has, but another productive year, and maybe he hits the market. Trae Boston, any reports on him being someone to fill a spot at safety? Plus, what about Josh Jones? How do you think he fits this season? Landon, I think Josh Jones is going to have to fight for playing time. I think with Amos coming in, he is a true strong safety who can do pretty much everything asked of him in Pettine's defense, whereas I think Jones is limited. We all know he's a much better player down near the line of scrimmage, and I think he can be effective in some of their sub packages. But look, I think they've got to upgrade at free safety, and Josh Jones is not the answer there. As far as Trae Boston goes, it's funny. I mean, he's going to be whoever he signs with, unless it's unless he goes back where he was. It'll be his 3rd new team in 3 years. And the only thing I can point to is some of the headlines, some of the stuff that's been written about the vocal nature that he brings to a locker room. Maybe that rubs guys the wrong way. Maybe that rubs teams the wrong way. But, you look at his play on the field in and of itself, you look at the tape, and yeah, he could definitely help. But, with things being like they are in Green Bay, Gutekunst seems to want to eliminate those types of distractions, those type of people in the locker room. So I'd be surprised. And Josh Jones blocked me, and I don't know why. Alex, I muted you forever, dude, because you can be abrasive on Twitter, dude. You got to be a little nicer. And then maybe you won't get blocked by professional athletes. I respect Murphy more for mentioning special teams when firing McCarthy. Oh, Hilary, that's really good, actually. That is really good. Because it's true. Special teams were like, unmentionable stepchild under McCarthy. So, yeah, I think that's fair. Are we going with no fullback again this year? I would be very surprised. I think they'll bring one in, if not drafting one. I think they'll definitely bring one in free agency at some point, maybe after the draft. I'd be surprised if they went without a fullback. But you never know. Maybe they go H-back. I think a lot of it will depend on what they do as far as the draft goes. Ty Montgomery would have been a great slot receiver this year. Too bad they got rid of him. What does Ty Montgomery bring that nobody else in this roster? I mean, anybody running the slot receiver, I mean, Kumaro can do what they need in the slot. MVS and EQ can do what they need in the slot. I mean, I like Ty, but, you know, he screwed up, man. And then he questioned the franchise publicly the next day. Yeah, no, it was time for him to go. Will Jordy still get paid after retiring? Huh? By the Packers? No. Any thoughts on Rosen as possibly a backup to Rodgers? I love the idea, Daniel, but I'd be absolutely shocked if the Packers went that route for no other reason than I can't see them giving up the draft capital. But also, you think about it, they make that move, say, and then Rosen's there. His contract would literally run out the same year that Rodgers does. So unless he gets the chance to play, which you hope he doesn't, then what do? You just let him walk? You've given away these draft picks for nothing? Like, I mean, I understand we want to upgrade the backup quarterback spot, but yeah, I don't know. I don't love the idea. All right, I'm going to have to jump, everybody. I'm sorry, but thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. Look, you've got a couple hours until the price goes up on the Cheesehead TV draft guide. Go to cheeseheadtv.com, pre-order the draft guide. It's still in pre-order mode, so you get the discount, only $6.99. In the meantime, hey, hit like, hit subscribe. We want to get some subscribers on this YouTube channel, damn it. Can't have Tom Grassi wiping the floor with us, subscriber number-wise. I mean, content-wise, it's no contest. We all know that. But subscriber numbers, he's killing us. So I'm going to start doing some more YouTube videos. I'm going to give you guys a new series. We're going to be doing Extra Cheese with Aaron Nagler. You guys think I'm kidding. I'm dead serious. So I'm going to be doing those probably at night. They won't be as souped up as the studio stuff, but you know, we're always going to talk some Packers here at Cheesehead TV. We're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide, and we're devoted to getting some more subscribers. I want to get to 20,000 subscribers by the draft. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility here in the land of YouTube. So hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, give it to friends and family as a gift for Christmas. Wait, that's after the draft. I mean, before the draft. You know what I mean. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.